I would like to start our webinar today. And the topic of our webinar is Wialon new features and updates, which were introduced in first quarter of 2020. A kind reminder that the chat is disabled and you can use QA section to ask your questions. My colleagues, Kate and Coven, will try to answer those questions on the go. And if we have some time at the end, I will try to answer them as well. Again, the chat section is disabled. You can ask your questions in the Q&A section. So we are starting. Okay, so we already have a question and my team will answer that. So again, today's topic is Wialon new features and updates. And the agenda of this webinar includes Wialon hosting updates, Wialon web apps updates, Wialon mobile apps updates, and my.gurtam.com update. Before we jump into the hosting updates, I would like to remind you that we have a special update for WIATAG related to the coronavirus pandemic. So last week, my colleague from Minsk had a wonderful webinar, and I would like to reiterate that now our partners from all over the world have an early access to testing a new feature for WIATAG. So now WIATAG can be paired with wristbands with BLE beacons. When paired with that wristband, WIATAG will send the information about the location of the person who's wearing that wristband. For more information on the requirements for wristbands, as well as the setup of WIATAG unit paired with BLE beacon wristband, please reach out to your personal manager or the implementation specialist that you work with. We also are disclosing today that there is going to be a dedicated mobile app related to this WIATAG update. This app will serve to track people who were exposed to COVID-19, as well as personnel tracking in the field might be use this solution, and children or senior people monitoring. So these are the prototypes of this app. The release of this app will be announced additionally, but you can feel free to reach out with any questions to your personal managers again. So now I would like to jump into the Wialon hosting updates in the first quarter of 2020. And I would like to talk about 4 major updates. And they include custom and profile fields in the report tables, dashboard updates, export of the resource contents to the CSV format, new search filters on the monitoring panel. I would like to start with the first one, which is custom and profile fields in the report tables. But before that, I would like to remind you that you can find custom fields in the unit properties under the custom fields tab. And custom fields tab includes the information, some additional information about the unit. For example, fuel type, insurance policy number, year of manufacture of that unit, load capacity. Also, you can include some external links, URL links in the value field. You can also find profile information under the unit properties, and we can see the VIN number, for example, the general parameters, some technical parameters, some technical and registration information about the vehicle. So now let's go and see how we can view this information in the reports table. For the demonstration, I chose a very popular report, which is trips and parkings for a group. I clicked on the properties of that report, and I would like to add some additional information for the unit, about the unit, in the trips table. So I click in the settings of the report table, and now I see obviously the columns that were created in advance, but I would like to use additional information, show additional information from the custom or profile fields, and I use calculator. There's a button here, add calculator. I click on that button, and then in the field formula, I'm giving the choices of what things I would like to include in the additional column. So for example, I would like to show VIN number in that report table. I choose the VIN number and I click OK. So you see that the formula is automatically populated with the profile field VIN. I click OK, and now I need to name my column, and I name it as VIN. I can also change the location of that column. It doesn't have to be the first one. I can drag the location of the column up or down, and I hit OK. So after running this report, I see that in the trips table of that report, we see the VIN number for that particular unit. Another feature that we added here was related to the dashboard. We introduced 2 dashboard updates, and they include the dashboard customization. We added this dashboard customizer, the 3 dots, where you can select or unselect the blocks of information that you would like to show, as well as you can change the location of those blocks of information by dragging it down. So you can, again, here check this box or uncheck this box. Another update related to the dashboard was that we added 2 additional blocks of information, and they are related to fuel consumption as well as the speeding information. And this information can be provided only for the last 7 days. And here's a hint here. I would like to show you how to run the reports if you guys didn't see that. So what I did, I went to the trips and parkings report. I went to the trips table, and I added this field by clicking this button, add calculator. And for example, I want to choose, the registration plate if there is any in this case. So I hit OK. I rename the column, and it's going to be plate. And hit OK. And OK. So execute. If there was any information in the plate, so there was no information plate, but if there is information about the plates in the profile, then obviously you will be able to see that. Earlier, I showed you how I added the IMEI. So now, real quick, I would like to go back and show the update about the dashboard. So we're going to the monitoring, we're switching to dashboard. And as I already mentioned, we added this dashboard customizer, 3 dots here. And I can select or unselect specific blocks of information, like notification or mileage, and they will be added automatically. I can actually uncheck the boxes, and I can change the location of the blocks of the information. For example, I want to see speedings here, and here, voila. Again, we also added the information about the speedings for the past 7 days for the units. And also we added the fuel consumption for the past 7 days. Again, I apologize for the technical delay. So now I would like to continue showing you new features. So let me go back to the presentation. The next thing that we added is the export of the resource contents to the CSV format. So we previously had this cool feature, import export, where you could import export certain things in a certain format, such as WLP or KML. Now you also are able to export the contents of the resource to CSV format. And you can do it under, so if you click on the username, you will go to import export, and we added additional field export to CSV. After that, you will be given a choice from what resource to export the information. and export options. For example, I would like to export drivers information, all of the drivers. I can choose one driver or I can choose many drivers, and I click export. A file will be downloaded to your computer, to your device, and you are able to read that file in the CSV. So I'd like to demonstrate you that right now. So we're going back to our hosting. I will go back, I'll just make it in the list view. I will go to the user name.
Liana, we don't see the screen.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, again, sorry about that. Something new from Zoom. Okay, so we go to the username, we go to import, export to CSV, and I choose the resource where I store my information, for example, about drivers, notifications. I select, and I would like to export all of the drivers information. I choose drivers, export, and here you go, the file is downloaded to my laptop. I click on it and I can read the information about the drivers, with the driver's name in the CSV file. Okay, going back to my presentation. So the next thing, a very cool feature that we introduced, we actually expanded the number of filters in the search bar here in the monitoring panel, and now you can search the units on the work list using not only the unit name but unique unit ID, unit's group name, profile fields, and the device type. And for example, I would like to search the unit with using the VIN number. So I just copied the VIN number, I paste it here, and I see the unit, that the unit was found. And if it's a group view, I also can see the groups that the unit belongs to, right? So let me show you how it's done. And I hope that you're going to see my screen right now. I am going to the monitoring interface, right? And I would like to search using the device type. For example, I'm searching Zergo units, and here you go. All of the Zergo units are here. I'm searching GNX, and all of the units are using that type of hardware are located. And if you switch to group view, you will be able to see all of the groups that those units with that device type belong to. Okay, now, so now I would like to focus more on Wialon web apps updates, and I will talk more in detail about Fleetrun and Nimbus updates introduced in the first quarter of 2020. So for the Fleetrun, I would like to dwell more on the line items import of intervals, duration of services, notification updates. So as for the first one, line items import, I would like to remind you that we have line items library where you can store the information about the parts or labor that you or your customers can use in the service during the maintenance. So, and it's located under the username. You will see the second line is line items library. By clicking on that, you will see all of the line items that you already store, as well as we added this new line item import. So by clicking on that button, you will be given the choice to select a file, a spreadsheet, for example, from your computer, in this case, line items, and the contents of that file will be imported to Fleetrun. Make sure that you exclude the first line if your file contents have headers like mine. So you click here, and then you have to assign the name from the breakdown here of that particular column. For example, line item, or type if it's a part or labor, and also cost associated with that line item. So after renaming those columns, the system will import the line items to the list, and you will be able to see that in the line items library. The next update that is sort of similar to line items import is the import of intervals. And you can find intervals on the top panel of the dashboard. So what we can do right now, we can actually import them again from the Excel spreadsheet that you can store on your device, right? And here's the button here, you can click it. And after that, you will be given a choice to select a file from your device. For example, intervals, like here, click open. And again, the contents of the file are imported to the intervals. Make sure again to exclude the first line if you have the headers in your file, and then you have to assign the name for the interval. That's a mandatory field, so you have to choose that. And also you will have to define the interval type if you are scheduling intervals of services by mileage, by time, by time in days, by time in weeks. So after that, you will see this notification that the intervals were imported successfully. And I'm going to show you later how to do that. So the next important update that we introduced is the duration of services. And the duration of services is related, obviously, to the services. But before that, we need to go and set the correct time format. You can do it under the username in the user settings. You can choose the time format that you typically work with. It's either 12 hours or 24 hours. It's really up to you. In this case, I'm choosing 12 hours. And after that, you can set the duration, time from and to, in all of the types of the services. In the upcoming services, you can set the time. It has the column service time. If you click on that particular service, which is upcoming, which is due, for example, in this case, in August, you can set manually the time that you expect the service to take place from, for example, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So also you can see the duration of services in the services which are in progress right now. So here we have a service which has been lasting for like 157 days. By clicking on that service, you will be able to set the time, the service time, again, from to, right? And also you're able to see the duration of services in the closed or archived services. But here, obviously, we will not be able to see from to. We will see the actual duration of that service, 3 days, 1 day, 8 hours, etc., etc. You can also run the report to see the duration of services, and you can run the report by fleet. You can run the report for closed services, for any types of services, basically, and you can group them by type. And here you will be able to see the time and service, the actual time and service in the past. So this feature was introduced in order to efficiently manage the fleet and to arrange the units, to arrange the fleet when you know that the service is coming. So you can schedule efficiently, the units for the delivery, for example. Okay, and the last but not least, we introduced the updates for notifications. Now, if you are creating the service manually, you have the ability to set up the notifications 7 days before the service, not 7 days, like how many days you prefer, days before the service. So it means that you will start receiving the notifications about upcoming services 7 days prior in this case. So you can set the number of days yourself. And another update for the notification is that now your end users can also create notifications themselves. For example, here I'm show demo, I'm the parent user, right? And I go to access rights, which are in the administration tab, and I allow my video show demo user to manage notifications. So I enable this manage notifications button. And when logging in under that user, I see that the user is able to view the notifications which were already created, as well as they can set up the notifications themselves. So let me demonstrate real quick how to do that. It's a couple of features. So I am going to Fleetrun, and what I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you how to import the intervals. So here are my intervals, and I would like to import a couple of intervals. So I click on this button, interval import. I choose the file from my computer. I click open. I set the correct date format. Okay. And then I see that the two intervals were imported. So now I exclude the first line, and I set the interval's name, and I set the interval's type by mileage, 75 miles. And you see that valid intervals are 2. I click save, and I get this notification that those intervals were imported successfully, and I can see them. Oil change here, 75 miles. Okay. Then also I would like to show you services, how to additionally, sorry, I would like to show you the set the service time for the upcoming service. So I'm going to click on that, and I will manually, this is a feature actually which is due today. So I'm going to manually set the time. I would like this service to run from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 p.m. and I click save, and I go back, save, and I go back, and you see that the time was set. Whenever I create a new service and it's created manually and it's going to be a service in the future, I set date and okay, and I am able to see this notification, additional notification. I would like to be notified 5 days in advance, and then I also have to fill in all of the fields. Those are some features for Fleetrun. Now I would like to switch back and talk more about Nimbus updates. So Nimbus is our public transportation app, and I would like to talk more about print planned rides for 1 day, show the unit's direction and details on the map, and show the bulk operations with routes. The first one is print planned rides for 1 day is related to rides. We added this printer button in order to print out the rides for that particular route for 1 day, and maybe give it to the dispatcher or the driver, so in a more readable and more user-friendly format. So I click on that printer icon, and I'm looking at the printer window. And the the format is very, very user-friendly. So I click print, and the route, the rides for that particular route are printed out. Another update is related to the online tab of monitoring the route. So if the route is online, is activated, we see 3 units. We would like to also see where those units are going. And in order to do that, you click on the name of the route, and you are taken to the map interface, and you will see the icons with the direction. So we change the icon with the direction. And if you hover your mouse over the units, you'll also see the name of the unit and the estimated time of arrival to the nearest stops. So that's pretty convenient. The last but not least, bulk operations with routes. So we added this icon, the list icon, where by clicking on that, you are able to choose the routes here and to activate or deactivate them, like all of them, or delete them. So it's pretty convenient. So let me show you how it's done in Nimbus. Okay, so Nimbus, I apologize for that. So this is our Nimbus. So bulk operations, so you click select items, and you're able to check the boxes with the certain routes, and you can enable or disable them, for example, right? Or delete them if you would like. Then going to rides. So we added this printer button here, print, and you see that immediately a window with a very user-friendly and readable format opens up, and I can print out those routes. So I click print. And if we go to the online, we see that this is our route online right now. by clicking on that, you are taken to the map and you see those units en route, and you see the location where the unit's going, right? So, and then if you hover your mouse over, you're able to see the name of the unit and the ETA to the next couple of stops, okay? Okay, now we're gonna go back and I'm going back to my presentation. So the next updates that I'm going to talk are the updates about the Wialon mobile apps. I already started my presentation with WIATAG update related to COVID-19. Now I would like to talk more about app for Android and iOS. And there are three major updates that we introduced in the past quarter, and they were a new tab for Geofence Management, speeding and fuel consumption data in the history of the unit, and change the menu on the map. So Geofence Management, we introduced this Geofence tab, which is under More, under the category More. So if you click on Geofences, you will be able to see the list of geofences available to you. As well as you can search among those created geofences, and you can create a new geofence on the go in the mobile app. You also are able to view the geofence. If you tap on the name of the geofence, you also are able to view the geofence on the map. By holding your finger on the name of the geofence, you will be given the options to edit that particular geofence, and you can set the description, edit geofence, copy geofence, make it invisible, create notification right away inside or outside geofence, and delete the geofence. I'm going to show you later how to create a new geofence. We also introduced speeding and fuel consumption data in the history tab on our mobile interface. But before that, I would like to remind you that speeding is set up in the advanced unit properties, and you can use limits from the roads or some predefined limits, as well as fuel consumption. At least you need to add the fuel level sensor and make sure that you edit the fuel consumption tab, and the fuel consumption is calculated by using that fuel level sensor. Again, for more information, please reach out to your personal managers. So now I'm going to show you how this information is displayed on the mobile app. You see that in the history of that particular unit, in that particular trip, you will see the information about the fuel consumption in gallons, as well as miles per gallons, MPG. You will also be able to view the speeding information with the set speed road limit, and by how much the driver, the unit, was speeding. In this case, it's by 14 miles per hour. And the last but not least, we have introduced the change menu on the map. And now you don't have to go back to the settings and choose the map. You can just tap on this icon on the top left corner, and you can choose the map source right away. Okay, so let me start sharing my screen. I hope it's going to work. I'm going to stop share. And I'm going to start sharing my mobile screen. Okay. So this is our app for Android and iOS. And the first thing that you can see is the geofence. So on the bottom, you will find it under the More category. And if you tap on geofences, you're able to see the list of the geofences created, available. You can also tap on the name of the geofence. Unfortunately, you cannot see my mouse right now, but I'm tapping on the first one, and the geofence is visible on the map. If I hold the button, if I hold my finger on the name of that geofence Boston area, the window will open up with set description, edit geofence, copy geofence, make invisible, create notification, and delete. And I would like to edit that geofence, so I choose this. A window will open up, and I can change the color. I can add the description. I can change the visibility, and I can create a notification right away. of inside or outside geofence. Okay. So I can also create a new geofence here. So the plus button on the top right corner, I click on that. And I need to provide the name. For example, we'll go to Gurtam headquarters. Headquarters, save. And now I'm manually choosing, looking for a beautiful Republic of Belarus. And I am zooming in to Minsk, where my colleagues are right now. I can set the color green, and I can set the visibility whatever I want. And I click OK. So now this Gurtam headquarters is created. Here we also can change the map, for example. So the top left icon here, and the source of the, you can change the maps to, for example, Gurtam maps right away, or we're going to go back to Google defaults. Okay, and now I'm switching to the monitoring panel, to the monitoring interface here, and I go to my unit, and I would like to show you the information in the history. You see that the history tab is chosen. And I would like to show you the information about yesterday's trip at 3:50 p.m. So I see that the fuel consumption was 1.8 gallons, and the mileage per gallon was 16, which is great. I also can view the information about the speeding. The set limit on the road was 55 miles per hour, but the unit sped by 12 miles per hour, probably getting a speed ticket. Okay, so now I'm going back to my presentation. The last but not least is the update related to my.gurtam.com. And for those who probably forgot about it, my.gurtam.com is your personal account where you can view very important information. And you can actually record or register the leads that you are currently working on. My.gurtam.com introduced this update that you can convert a potential client, in this case, a potential dealer, when you change the status to sale one, and introducing all of the information here, filling in all of the information here. By clicking on save, the system will automatically convert the client to the current client, the potential client to the current client. And after going to the client's information, you will see that the company type will be already dealer or client, right? Not the potential one. So these are all of the updates for today.